Howdy everyone, it's me once again, the one and only Killer Dan. And today, as you can see, I'm still continuing my Disney movie marathon by, again, defending Disney. I guess in this case, specifically Frozen 1 and 2, I guess, because our son Pastor, aka Kevin Swanson, it seems to be picking at Disney again because of Frozen 1 and 2. This is the third part I'm working on, and I thought it was going to be done a lot sooner, but no, I guess I underestimate this entire thing because it was really absurd. But yeah, basically what he's trying to get at is for the first part of the video I did from his podcast. Uh, just to be clear, his podcast was not separated into parts. He just put it all in one thing. So what I'm doing here is, if anything, just responding to him, just pretty much countering literally everything that he says. And he's doing a podcast with his friend or something, or whoever that's supposed to be. They obviously go to the same church, of course, and they're just setting up this argument where Disney is pretty much ruining society by the assistance of a satanic cult that's mysterious. They're working behind closed doors. And right off the bat, straight up paranoia. And of course, and him and his friend, their so-called evidence is feminism. I know what he's referring to. He's referring to the angry feminazis. Despite the obvious, yes, there's a first wave of feminism. There's a second wave of feminism. There's a third and a fourth wave of feminism. What he fails to realize is that, okay, first of all, the Illuminati does not exist, and second of all is that, uh, yes, there are. I mean, granted, yes, there are feminists who do hate men for being men. Yes, those do exist. I'm not denying that, but I'm not saying that every single feminist is like that. No, I'm not gonna blame every. I'm not gonna blame the entire community of feminists just because of a few bad eggs. Is what I'm getting at. But what he's trying to get at, he's just trying to get a small bit of kernel of truth, and just stretch it, make it as if like he's in the right. Another thing, of course, basically just twisting things around, pretty much. Another thing I would say for a brief moment here is that before I get to the rest of his thing over here, and do attempt to do the rest of it in one video, but it's not guaranteed. But anyway, point being is that, of course, he's trying to claim that being a part of the LGBT somehow means that you're into pornographic material. If anything, bottom line with that is he thinks you're a sex fiend. If you're lesbian, bisexual, gay, trans, pansexual, or anything else you can think of that belongs to the LGBT community. Because pretty much in his mind and his friend or whoever's that's supposed to be, they think that you're some sort of sex craved maniac that just doesn't know any better, and he and his friend trying to expose anybody as a part of the LGBT community and their supporters, of course. And of course, think of the children. Think of the children. Somebody think of the children, which of course is a highly manipulative tactic because kids have an innocent mind, and apparently gay men want to corrupt it because some absurd reason. It's a stereotype that gay men want to sleep with kids. If anything, he's trying to paint the picture that gay men specifically are nothing more than predators for little kids. The other thing I'm gonna bring up for a brief moment as well. I know I'm kind of just skimming a lot of it because since I've already covered this already with the two previous parts, and there's a third part I'm already covering. But another thing he brought up as well is that greedy. Yeah, apparently if you like buying Frozen dolls or anything princess related from Disney specifically, he thinks him and his friend believes that all you want to do is you're just a materialistic individual that there's like a baby rate decline. I still don't know how he's connecting dots here. Him and his friend. I still don't understand how he's connecting dots with all this. It makes no sense whatsoever. And of course the society nowadays, America, the more modern America, is on a decline because they have no self worth when it comes to family values and whatnot. Somehow, it's all this downfall is because of Disney. You don't want no babies. You don't want to start a new family. You're greedy. And if anything, if anybody's been ignorant and arrogant, it's you for supporting the gay people and the Disney Corporation, which of course became one of the most well-known companies of all time, which upsets him. So he's trying to be the superhero. He's trying to be, Superman. He's trying to be Captain America or whatever, and just fight against this big meanie company. So if anything, it's like in the one Bible story, David and Goliath. Goliath being, Disney and the LGBT community, and him being David. But yeah, basically by just um, beta and twist and everything, pretty much. Which, yes, this sounds really absurd. I know, again, I do realize I'm really skipping a lot of stuff because I've already discussed this in the previous two videos. But I know it's pretty much, I know it sounds like I'm just skipping a lot of stuff, which I know from outside looking in, it does seem like that's what I'm doing. But trust me, folks, if you have not seen the previous two parts I've already covered, that's basically what it's getting at. But of course, you try and get into great detail. But by honesty, he's a son. He just seems like he just seems like he brings a lot of irrelevant stuff that has nothing to do with the overall argument in which he was talking about. A lot of what he's talking about has nothing to do with Disney, nothing to do with pagans, which yes he attacked for no reason. I mean, there's nothing. If you're a pagan and you're watching this, don't get scared because I'm not gonna attack you. If you're gonna be a pagan, fine. I don't care. If you don't live that kind of way, sure, be my guest. However, he's just trying to attack them too because apparently he believes that the pagans are somehow behind this secret satanic cult I just mentioned a moment ago. And yeah, all right. Okay, let me just wrap things up because this is gonna take a hot minute. This will take a hot minute to do another one here. So yeah, that's basically what we're trying to get at, and of course you can blame the downfall on society on militaristic people. You just don't know better. That's all. Oh, you just don't know better. And of course, this entire thing just comes off really patronizing. Really, really patronizing. Oh boy. Of course, the only way to be a good person is to be a Christian. Shut up. Anyway, let's just get it all with. All right, come on, let's go. Let's go.
Foreseeable future. But thirdly, you know what? People are as selfish as they've ever been. And I'm not sure they're coming to the point where they want to bring any more children into the world because children always cut into your self-centered existentialistic lifestyle.
Yeah, there you go, lying again. We just got to talking about this kind of a thing. Gaslighting, very manipulative. So, if anything, he's trying to say that you should feel guilty for not having any kids. Yeah, it's gaslighting. Definitely gaslighting there. And, yeah, for shame. How dare you? He's saying you're selfish for not having any kids. I mean, okay, it's up to the person. I mean, it's perfectly fine to be selfish at times. Don't overdo it, obviously. But he's trying to put it in a very black and white point of view. In a very black and white point of view that if you don't do these specific rules, you're automatically the bad guy. That it doesn't work like that. Real life doesn't work like that whatsoever. Again, like I said in my previous video, he's trying to take these very complex ideas and really simplify them just so he can fit his narrative into his thinking to make it as if like he knows what he's talking about, which he doesn't. But oh boy, yeah, I just got to talk about this kind of a thing. It's of course it's nonsensical, obviously, but there's a lot of people out there who don't want any kids, so they're selfish for not wanting. I mean, I was called crazy before for not wanting kids, so this is nothing new to me. Oh boy. And yes, it's perfectly possible to have a healthy balance of both being selfish and being generous. Yes, that is very much possible. Come on.
Right. If you don't love God, then you're not going to say that a children is a blessing from God. They are a hindrance to your own lifestyle. So people have a tendency not to consider.
Oh yeah, there you go, gaslighting again. And what if somebody's debating to have kids or not? Maybe it depends on their circumstances. Maybe they're not mature enough. Uh, let's say emotionally speaking. Emotionally speaking, they're not mature enough. Mentally speaking, they're not mature enough. Because there's plenty of occasions where someone isn't really ready to start a family, and there's other people who are both mentally ready and emotionally ready, and also financially ready too. Both parties are, good to go. They're fine. They're good to go. However, there could be quite a few indications where they just don't want to do it. Just flat out don't want to. I mean, yes, those situations where maybe the girlfriend wants a kid, but the boyfriend don't want to. Maybe the boyfriend wants to, but the girlfriend don't want to. But then there's an altercation, or both just flat out don't want to for whatever reason. And that's none of your business anyway. Who are you to dictate their lives and whatnot? Oh boy, do I really have to break this down? I mean, really?
Well, they don't consider life sacred in the first place, and therefore children are not a blessing or a heritage from the Lord.
They also make the point that the birth rate of millennials, of 20 to 24-year-olds, has been dropping. In fact, it dropped.
Go with that line again that Christians are known for. Okay, I'll keep this bit real brief. Millennials are less likely to have kids considering the fact that the boomer generation and Generation X uh, will have a better chance of having a job compared to the millennials. So, yeah, you just shaming this generation just for that. So you can't even get that stats right.
By 200% since 1990. That's the steepest decline in birth rates in America.
That sounds like an exaggerated number because it is. The job market between the generations have been different, obviously.
The entire Western world, that's the 20 to 24-year-olds. And also the 25 to 29-year-olds has dropped significantly as well. The 30 to 34-year-olds was
And while yes, it has changed depending on who you talk to, depending on what group you're speaking to. I mean, maybe the typical age people can have kids, maybe somewhere between 24 and 26, maybe. But on average, but that was pushed to a later years because the job market is tough, especially in recent years. And there's a whole pandemic thing going on right now. And then on top of that, when you think about it, the silent generation definitely helped the job market, the housing, and all that. Why they for the better, of course. But Gen X and the of course the boomers, of course, took full advantage of that. Which obviously this makes it more difficult for the millennials to actually do anything in that regard because the boomers and Gen X pretty much ruined it for a lot of people. I'm not gonna say every single Gen X and every single boomer, of course, but for the most part, yeah, they made it really difficult because they took advantage of it in a bad way. Defense of the millennials, yes, I realize that some of them are lazy, which is true, but that's just a stereotype. And get to your guys' thick heads. I mean, yeah, speaking to you, Gen X and Boomers, that they can't live. The millennials cannot live in a fantasy world where they could just live from a 9 to 5 job and that's it. It cannot be an end all be all kind of a solution. When you think about it.
on the rise until 2008, and that's been in decline since 2008. So the younger ones aren't.
No, this was discussed in a previous video, but what you're referring to is the whole market and the fact that it burst. That's a whole separate situation going on there. It's not millennials being irresponsible and not wanting to have kids and not wanting to believe in God. I mean, okay, yes, the millennials are becoming less and less likely to be a part of the church. That's true, but out he's trying what Kevin Swanson is trying to do is just twist it around. And when it comes to millennials not having jobs, and not buying homes like your generation did and the previous generation did, it's because of lack of money. And they don't have a lack of money because they're just being all willy nilly. Where do you expect them to get all this money from anyway? The logic here escapes me. None of this makes any absolute no sense whatsoever. And where do you expect the Manelli to get that? Where? Yeah, tell me right now. Where do you expect them to get it? And of course, the job market can be really competitive too. When you think about, you have like 1,000 people competing for the same job position. Let's say at a Walmart or something. And whatever Manilers want to buy with their own money, with those who are lucky enough to get a job anyway, it's not your business. It's as long as they're responsible, pay the rent if they live in an apartment, pay the mortgage, assuming they a part of a house, or and maybe own a car. As long as they pay for whatever they're supposed to, then it's okay. They can buy whatever they want. They can buy a bunch of else of those if they feel like it. Who cares? It's not your business, like at all.
Having children, and they're having far, far, far less children than they did in 2000, which means that the millennial generation will see hyper birth implosions.
Well, there you go, lying again, because there's no possible way to actually know any of that. And of course, you're trying to make guilt trip them for not having any kids. And you're just coming off like the only thing that man and a woman should be focused on is having kids. All you're trying to do is just preserve your religion, which, yes, you mentioned before, is that the way you would do Christian things is dying out. Which, like I said, Kevin Swanson did admit before. Yeah, he's fearful that he does not want to die. He wants his religion, his specific religion anyway, to continue on and on and on and on.
Generation and say goodbye to your 80 million baby boomers who, by the way, are in more debt and have less assets than any previous generation before them. And they're going to be looking out for handouts from the millennial generation. And give me a break. It ain't happening, my friends. It ain't.
Still wrong, but okay. And also, I'm not your friend. That's never going to happen. You're an asshole. And so is your friend there, too.
You better come up with plan B for retirement over the next 30, 40 years.
And how do you know they didn't? And again, you're just being really hyperbolic, making it as if that the millennial generation is doing nothing wrong. They're incapable of doing anything right. Yeah, how this old bit before? It's always the millennials doing a bunch of screw ups, as they would say. It's always the millennials doing this wrong. It's the millennials doing that wrong. They have no idea what they're talking about. All they do is just play video games all day and just masturbate. They have no clue what they're doing or whatnot. What's stopping from thinking that there is a millennial or millennials that's making way more money than you are? What's stopping you from thinking that there are some millennials out there? They all have a plan for retirement. That is possible. You're acting as if they're just being lazy. And however they want to live, again, I keep repeating myself, it's none of your business whatsoever at all. Oh boy.
That's why FamilyChristianElderCare.org. We launched that about 3 years ago, and we hope that tens of thousands, if not tens of millions of Christian families across this country will be increasingly interested in the Plan B approach to retirement over the next 30 years or so, because I'm here to tell you, socialism will eventually run out of other people's money.
Okay. Yeah, people who are socialists would use other people's money. That is true. And eventually run out. That is true. But just because he's speaking the truth in that bit doesn't mean he's right. Then when you think about it, the churches always want money. What about that? Anybody around here that's coming off as a socialist, it's you, Kevin Swanson, and your friend there. Both of you are coming off very, very similar to socialism right there. And I know both of you claim to be capitalists, which seems contradictory about the stuff you're talking about, because you're trying to control what people can and can't buy with their own money, which they work for, and you just want to make sure that they don't spend that money on Disney stuff. Oh, and or even sell Disney stuff they want to, legally speaking, of course. I'm not talking about those bootlegs or anything. But yeah, it's just everything that this guy is saying is wrong. So much wrong. Let's just try to wrap things up, shall we? Just This is just ridiculous. Really, really ridiculous when you think about it.
And it will happen under the millennial generation, guaranteed.
Right. Except that it won't, though. When it comes to again, the socialism and whatnot, that's how a lot of Christians like you are acting. You want all the money to be for you and only for you and nobody else. And FYI, folks, it should be clear already. I don't like socialism, okay? I don't like fascism. I don't like communism. I'm fine with capitalism, of course. But as for the other things, that just also fascism, socialism, Nazis, or anything else like that. Yeah, those are definitely bad. But if anything, Kevin Swanson is going to shame you for buying what you want to buy.
All right, now let's take a look at this other sub-article in The Economist. Very, very interesting stuff, because I was thinking that the immigrants that come into these Western nations would salvage the birth rate. As it turns out, just the opposite is happening.
Yeah, it's really interesting because, one of the things that was keeping our birth rate high was the illegal immigration from Mexico, and they were having lots and lots of kids, but now they're not.
That's not happening. It turns out you follow the flow. You join the zeitgeist. You get into the river. You attend the same public schools. You watch the same television programs. You're going to be just like all of the other people that surround you in these Western nations. These immigrants that come to America, their families will be ruined. Their sexuality will be ruined. Their birth rates will implode.
Yeah, sure, it's the corporations' fault, like Disney, for keeping everybody in a bubble. That's what you guys are doing. Christians are doing that. Of course. I mean, yeah, obviously going to pick up the immigrants, obviously. What purpose? I don't know. Something about births and whatnot. Jeez. Just treating women as nothing more than just to breed them. Okay. That's really sexist. But okay, let's don't get this over with. Just give me a damn headache here.
Almost guaranteed, unless there are still Christians somewhere who are discipling the nations and teaching them to observe whatsoever Jesus has commanded in his word.
Okay, that goes to the statement I said earlier. The way he would Christian stuff is fading. His virgin Christianity. And goes on to what I just said a moment ago. He views women as nothing more than just to breeding. Yeah, that's it. Just be nothing more than baby factories and nothing more, because he realizes that the way his version of Christianity is dying out. No, he sees that. Oh, he's fully aware of that.
Unless there are some Christian churches somewhere who are still saying, you know what? God's word provides a different approach to sexuality and to family than what we find in the zeitgeist around us.
Yeah, that goes into what I just said earlier, folks. These mysterious satanic people. They're working behind closed doors and whatnot, trying to keep themselves totally hidden. I got some sort of mansion, house, or something. I don't know. Like some base somewhere that nobody can find them. Some maybe underground base, and they're basically the Palpatine from Star Wars, and he's putting he's like the puppet master. He's talking about some sort of puppet master that's pulling the strings and trying to destroy society. And of course, he wants to be the hero and stop them from doing that. Oh, this guy's a moron.
Unless Christian churches will disciple the nations. Friends, forget about the immigrants coming to this nation and somehow salvaging birth rates. It just isn't going to happen. Between 2006 and 2013, the fertility rate among Mexicans in America fell by 35%, compared with a drop of 3% among non-Hispanic whites.
Wow.
So the point is, the non-Hispanic white birth rate has been falling. It's pretty low. It's down there around 1.7, 1.6.
Yeah, 2.1 in developed nations is replacement rate.
Right. But the Hispanics coming into this country, they've seen a drop of 35% of their birth rate because they've joined the zeitgeist. They're going to be like...
Oh, God. This is comedy gold. He sounds like a damn loon. But, yeah, apparently the millennials, I guess the vast majority of them, have joined this zeitgeist and whatnot. What the hell, man? This actually made me chuckle. The Hispanic, non-white, or however you word that. According to him, these group of people also joined these mysterious individuals as well to destroy. Okay, That seems kind of racist, don't you think? Again, this is funny. I find this entire thing funny. Oh boy, I mean, it's serious, but come on.
All of those around them, unless they receive a different worldview by way of the Christian influence, the Christian message. And yes, you'll probably only hear of it from some radio program that's aired from a basement out here in the Eastern Plains of Colorado. So it's not going to be on NBC, CBS, or ABC. It's going to be in a little local church somewhere where the Word of God is taught and where the gospel is conveyed.
Oh, sure. Take a stab towards the news broadcasting that's supporting the Democrats and the liberals and whatnot. Oh, yeah, they're the lunatics, not you. They're the crooks. You're the superhero that's trying to save everybody. You're the underdog that's trying to do the right thing. Sounds like a bunch of shit. Boy, like I said before, this is comedy gold because this guy sounds like a complete lunatic. All right.
Well, here's another chart, which I think is very instructive. This is Germany. You see what happens to the birth rate of the immigrants coming into Germany. It is now lower than the other Germans.
And the other Germans is really low. They're way below replacement rate, aren't they?
It is amazing what is happening to these immigrants. They are gung-ho on board. They have taken the zeitgeist, the worldview, hook, line, and sinker, friends. They have jumped into the river and they are flowing at 147 miles per hour towards that waterfall. That's what happens to the immigrants that come to these nations.
In other words, these group of individuals he's referring to are just going to the popular crowd. Kind of like it's a high school kind of a thing. You see the nerds, the geeks, the jocks, or anything else you can think of, the cheerleaders and whatnot. So they're just this one group of people that you're referring to. They're just gonna go with the flow and just go along with the popular stuff. Okay, that's really stupid. Again, you're always simplifying everything. Ugh. And yeah, this dude's just making a bunch of shit up anyway when you think about it. It's not gonna take a genius to realize what he's saying makes no sense. Oh boy. I know, yes, a lot of people actually do listen to him, I guess you can say. Oh boy. I mean, if they get offended by what I'm saying, I really don't give a shit, honestly. I don't give a rat's ass. So if any followers stumble upon this video, I don't care. Don't care. Get mad. Stay mad. I hope you get mad. I hope you do.
It's not as if these Muslims walk into these nations and say, hey, I'm just bringing my Islamic worldview and everything's going to be cool. No, they're turning into...
You mean Arabs? Oh boy, man. How intolerable do you have to be just to poke stabs at everybody? Ah. This guy's an asshole.
The same zeitgeist that is...
What the hell are you talking about? They're not part of some secret society or anything. Of course, obviously he's referring to the devil, Satan worshippers. The Muslims, I mean, yes, there's some extremist Muslims, sure, but I can't say that for every single Muslim. There's some good Muslim people out there. Boy, this guy, this Kevin Swanson, he's definitely a character, right? Oh boy. Yep, dickhead.
Taught by the burned out humanists that still run these nations.
Yeah, so lesson to Christian homeschool families, keep having those kids, because it's kind of like the rabbits who were caught under a haystack that a fox was after them. They said, should we make a run for it or stay here and outnumber them?
I guess the Muslims being the fox in this context, I guess. And basically anybody else who disagrees with them. Yeah, basically we're trying to get with Kevin Swanson and his friend over here. Assuming that's not a relative or anything. Like it matters, but point being is that, yeah, they're trying to get at is that just go ahead and multiply even more as much as humanly possible, so that you can outnumber the enemy. Like it could be Disney or Frozen, okay, or even women. There's the independent feminist women, I guess. Whatever.
So that's what we need to do.
Well, it's...
No, that's what you want women to do. Because you think it's the right thing to do because, hey, God said so, it's in the book, so let's have at it.
Interesting that increasingly pastors like Al Mohler and John MacArthur are taking a stronger position on this issue of birth control and contraception. Here's a recent comment.
Of course. You can tell women what they can and can't do with their own bodies. Goes on to what I said earlier. They just want women to be baby factories. That's it. I thought we were talking about Frozen and Elsa. On and all that. Where did that go? What the hell?
Al Mohler, we are clearly at a very important turning point, but you have to go back to the early 20th century when sexual revolutionaries largely funded an effort to separate sex and procreation, and that was birth control. Most Christians seem to think today that birth
I'm not surprised that he would bring this up, of course, when it comes to women's bodies, which, of course, was another subject matter that he brought up beforehand. And, which I will play in just a moment. I'm not going to play the entire thing because it goes on for about a good, maybe, 20-some minutes. So, this video is very lengthy as it is. So, I'll just play a little bit before returning to the main podcast here. Let me play this for like a good moment.
point, especially since we have churches that have such a high fornication, a high pornography use rate, a high divorce rate. As long as the church is hardly different from the society around, it can hardly make that statement. Now, this film Cuties is basically a film about children leaving the polygamous Islamic world for the quote-unquote wonderful fornicating world of the West. That's effectively what they say. It's a coming-of-age film, but Bill, what it means is you have 10 and 11 and 12-year-olds who are coming of age, but not just coming of age, but leaving the polygamous society of the Islam for the quote-unquote wonderful fornicating world of the West in Europe and North America. Ethics change all the time in a society that has no moorings in God's law. And that's our society, my friends. We're told that children aren't supposed to fornicate until they're 21 years, 18, 15, 11 years old. Okay, now what was it? Children are not supposed to fornicate until they're 14, 11. So what is it? Why is it wrong for a child of 11 years old to fornicate? It's wrong because God says it's wrong. Now, it would be nice if Christians would say that, at the very least. But it's hard to get a Christian to say that. What about the proposition that all fornication is sinful because God says it's sinful?
And sex, women and sex, women and sex, women and sex. Yeah, this is the type of thing he brought up before. Of course, everything what he just said is wrong. Of course, you can blame it on porn, which I would disagree with because it's not your business. Women can enjoy their bodies however they wish. I was trying to not hurt nobody. And if you want to watch porn, that's fine. I don't care. I'm not going to judge you. Again, it just boils down to control. That's it, really.
Control was just something that came along as something of a scientific or medical development. They failed to see that it was driven by moral revolutionaries who knew that you couldn't have a moral revolution. You especially couldn't have a sexual revolution unless you could separate sex and babies. And that's...
So if a woman wants to enjoy sex with, let's say, a group of friends, or whatever, that means she has no morals. That's complete lie. I taste a bit of, what is that? A bit of slut shaming. Don't do that, man. What are you, 12?
What John MacArthur said in his famous speech given on July 19th, 2015, following the Supreme Court decision Obergefell. He said, if you go back to contraception, you go back to where all this began. It is the product, admittedly, of the feminist movement. Go back through contraception.
Like I just said, he doesn't like women at all. But at the very least, he doesn't like them in the sense that he doesn't want them to have freedom like men do. And I'm repeating myself already. He just wants to use them for baby factories. Literally baby factories. That's it. And nothing more. And he's definitely angry at the fact that a woman can say no and get away with it. He's really pissed off at that.
Now, when contraception comes in, you have sex without children. And friends, the highly effective forms of birth control are used primarily by mainline Protestants and evangelicals. In fact, the evangelicals use the highly effective...
That's wrong, too. That group of Christians, whom primarily supported Trump, they don't do that. I don't like them either, but, even criticize somebody, make sure you do it right. They actually want to make a bunch of babies too, a truck ton of them, just like you Christians do. Oh boy! Again, if you can criticize somebody, pretty sure you do it correctly. I mean, really, it shouldn't be all that hard. And besides, it's not your business anyway. Come on.
Effective forms of birth control like the IUD and the abortifacient contraceptive birth control pill, more so than the mainline Protestants and the Catholic women. Evangelical.
Again, that's wrong too, because at least the vast majority of Catholics anyway. I'm sure there's a select few that won't do this, but vast majority of Catholics also want to use women as nothing more than baby factories. Notice the pattern here. And besides, what women do and do not do with their bodies, again, I keep repeating myself, it's none of your business whatsoever.
Evangelicals use it at a 74% rate. 74% of evangelical women in America are using the highly effective forms of birth control that include the abortifacient use of the contraception. Mainline Protestants at 73% and Catholic women at 68%. There's not a whole lot of difference between these.
Okay, the Protestants, yeah, that's true. They don't really care, really. If you do, they're like whatever about it, I guess. But as for everybody else that you brought up, they do want them to have a bunch of babies. While you're claiming that they don't. And what article are you reading off from? You didn't really say the name of it, really? Hey, liar, pacifier. That's what you are. Yeah.
Religious sects in terms of their use of the birth control pill and the ID, but the evangelicals use it at a higher rate than all of the other sects.
Either way, it's still not your business. It's still not your business. Either way, it doesn't matter. It's still not your business. At the end of the day, no.
In the United States. So I just point out that people are riding the zeitgeist. They ride the cultural zeitgeist. They do whatever the spirit of the age, the worldview that is foisted upon them by the media and by the educational systems do. They are just conforming to the world, whatever the world is telling them to do in terms of culture, in terms of media, movies, music, and birth control. They are on board with it.
Yeah, oh yeah, my opponents. They're what's wrong with America. Not me. I'm trying to speak the truth. Everybody else is lying. I'm not the liar. You're the liar. You're being deceitful. You're being manipulative. I'm not gaslighting. You're gaslighting. I'm not doing this. You're doing that. Oh boy. Ugh, this guy. I mean, really, this guy.
They don't see that we are not to conform to this world, but be transformed by the renewal of our mind, that we might prove what is that acceptable will of God. That's the point, that they're losing the sense of antithesis, that Christians really need to be contra mundum, and they need to be set against the world.
Oh yeah, the world is in danger, as in the entire planet Earth. Yeah, it's in danger. Sure. Yeah. Oh, okay. In other words, he's trying to come off like, oh, don't you see? I'm trying to do this for you. I'm trying to help you out because you're in danger, but you won't listen to me. Oh boy. Again, liar, pants on fire. Yeah, this dude, he's unbearable. Very toxic. Yeah, I'm sure he's fun at parties. Yeah, let's crack on a few cold beers. Oh boy, this guy.
We're not seeing that very much with evangelical women or mainline Protestants or with Catholics in our present day. So what's the application? The application is to just continue back in the Word of God, applying the Word of God, the principles of the Word of God to our lives. And the first and foremost thing we need to express is that Christians ought not to be...
Boy, again, he's just regurgitating the same thing over and over again. Birth control, babies, sex, and whatnot. It's not your business at all. You think it would make more sense for a dude to have to have sex with multiple women? Okay, if his wife or girlfriend gets pregnant, for what, generally speaking, for what, 9 months? What is he gonna do in the meantime? You think by your logic, he'll have to have sex with a bunch of women in the process of whatever.
Creating hazardous conditions in the womb for their own children. Christians ought to be those who love their children and protect their children and provide for their children. Christians ought to be the ones who are willing to give up their lives for their children, for the cause of Christ, for the
And trying to do the whole noble thing over here with the kids and whatnot. I gotta help the kids, gotta save the kids, gotta protect the kids. Everything for the kids, everything for the family, one and all. If it doesn't benefit the family, you might as well not do it. Again, this just sounds like communism right there. This sounds very much like communism. Oh, but can we just wrap things up? I mean, really, I'm gonna skip this guy. He's an asshole. Oh boy. Yeah. Whatever, man.
cause of his kingdom, rather than living their lives for themselves, which is ultimately the fundamental zeitgeist that is taught by the existentialist worldview today. Well, that pretty much wraps up this segment of the Generations radio broadcast. The conclusion to the matter is, fear God, keep his commandments. This is the whole duty of man. The conclusion to the matter is, repent of your sins and seek salvation from yourself and from your selfishness and from your self-centeredness.
That's it, folks. That's a little bit. Again, like I said, he just keeps repeating himself, 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 repeating himself. That's all he's doing. Just regurgitating the same thing over and over. All he's trying to do is just beat you over the head with what he's trying to say. To make sure he hammers in, to make sure it registers in your head. He's still wrong. Oh boy. Just thank you for anybody for watching. This is about a good 40 minutes ish. So this was a tad longer than the previous two parts. Like I said, I was just trying to make sure I just condense this entire thing. Well, what's left of it anyway. And yeah, I appreciate anybody for watching. And this was a very, I guess, controversial topic to talk about and whatnot. But it's fine. I'm not too shy from controversy anyway, so that was that, I guess. Alright, folks. Alright. Yada yada. I really appreciate anybody for watching this straight through. As always, thanks for watching, and take care. Until next time, see ya. Oh yeah. Later. Yeah.